Welcome back to another Colors of Prog. I think this is the last in the shows I had programmed that included mainly downloaded albums, EPs, maxi singles from progressive rock bands from around the world. And then we'll go back to the physical media, compact discs, and the vinyl, which we have quite a collection of over here. I will probably still do an occasional download review. It's just that there was such a huge backlog. I wanted to get through a lot of these. And the last two shows I did that. And so I think this one will pretty much end the huge backlog at least. So, without that, the Noisy Diners, I kid you not, the Noisy Diners, and this album is called The Princess of the Allen Keys, The History of Manto. That's a mouthful, isn't it? It's an Italian band. Released in 2021, the entire album is sung in English. Band members are Cristiano Roversi, Eric Montanari, Fabrizio Dossena, and Davide Giori, and about 10 others. And they are the Noisy Diners. Plus, Nad Sylvan, who you might recall singing and performing solo and with Steve Hackett. For the past few years, Nad has guested on vocals with Steve Hackett's live band and on the multitude of releases of live Steve Hackett shows for the past 6 years, if not more. Nad's a really good singer. Steve Hackett brings him on board because Nad can sound very much like Peter Gabriel. And although Nat, I was talking to him one time when he was not working on one of the cruises, and he said it was really difficult to strain to get to that range. But Nad's voice is a little close to that, but to get more so. Anyway, so Nad guests on the Noisy Diners album on vocals for 5 of the 7 tracks. So this is what I guess is called neo-symphonic prog. I do have issues with the female singer Donata Giovane. She has a strong voice, and I'm not sure if Nad recorded his vocals and sent it into the band, and the band mixed all this, because it sounds like an awkward mix. She has such a strong, overpowering voice, and Nad's voice is more, it's good, but it's more dreamy, more ethereal, and their voices collide. Some ears they might say, oh, that sounds great, but it just sounds like weird mixture here. Just putting, and we're not talking backup vocals, we're talking co-lead vocals a lot of the time. So it's just really, I don't know. He seems to be a much more restrained singer, and she's just a powerhouse voice. Donata. Oh, it's a concept album. Surprise. But I could not tell you what it's about. The Princess of the Allen Keys, The History of Manto. Donata Giovane, the woman I was just referring to, so she's playing, according to what I know, the character of Manto. Maybe this means something in Italian history or lore. It's quite possible. Everyone knows Allen keys are those little hook-like wrenches that you put in your guitar to adjust tension, and other things like chairs and nowadays. Anyway, Noisy Diners. So what does Lewis have to say about it? Interesting band. The collision of vocals really killed it for me. I'm just not quite sure. Next is the Oresund Space Collective. Yes. Oresund Space Collective. It's a multinational band formed in Denmark around 2006. I did listen to Experiments in the Subconscious and Four Riders Take Space Mountain. Whoa. That's from 2020 as well. So both albums are from 2020. Now here's the interesting thing. From what I can tell, this band records music and a lot of it, and then releases it over a period of years or years later. So the Oresund Space Collective Experiments in the Subconscious dates back from 2016 session. The other one, Four Riders, dates back from sessions in 2014 and 2016. Each recording has about 4 tracks. They each circle the, let's say, the 20-minute mark. It's an all-instrumental jam band. I can easily see this played prior to live shows by other jam bands. Maybe during intermissions. Hypnotic, danceable under the right circumstances. Those of you who know what I might mean. It's not really prog. It's psychedelic in parts due to the fuzz tone guitar, lots of delay on the lead guitar playing, plenty of reverb. Most of this is the brainchild of the enigmatic Dr. Space. I kid you not, this guy credits himself as Dr. Space. He plays synthesizers and composed and choreographed these tunes. And when I say choreographed, I think he's like the brainchild by like, this is the vision I have for the Space Collective, and everyone who comes in and adds other instruments, we're going to weave this tapestry of sound. There's also a lot of percolating Latin-style drum beats. I even hear some Afro-Cuban styles going on. Certainly different. Some prog rock websites call these guys space rock pioneers. No, they're not. But there's little hardcore progressive rock about this band. But hey, maybe there's a Canterbury link if you really stretch your mind out to the psychedelic sounds, but possibly a touch of Soft Machine at their most experimental. Possibly, I could see that. But prog rock purists seem to have a lot of genres that really go toward their favorite, heartfelt sounds. But for me, I just didn't know where these guys were at, though I liked them. I did like them, and this is something definitely to listen to under the right circumstances, not for relaxing music. Next is Prometheo. His album is a mouthful. It's called Dion Fuco Raptito, Dion Giovane Uomo, Dion Amore Unsensenato. I think I got it right. 2019, from Italy, all sung in Italian. This is a more old school RPI than most newer bands. There's still a touch of the modern sound, but bands in Tobacco and PFM might enjoy this. This is their second album, and Alessandro Mimi plays vocals and guitars, and Andrea Taquilo, they have pleasant voices. I liked how, especially Una Prigione Diaria, incorporated a little of that Celtic Fairport sound too. There's other stuff going on there. I could have done less with the 70s throwback synth and electric guitar duels and solos. Sometimes remind me of Atomic Rooster and Green Slate, I kid you not. I mean, this is a good band. It just seemed like it didn't work here when you're doing a concept like that, but who am I to say? Still a band to watch in the future, Prometheo. Sheba The Destructor is next. Find the Others. They're a band from the Ukraine. 2021, the album sung in English. At first listen, I was not overwhelmed by Shiva the Destructor. I have to be honest with you. They were formed in 2012, but I grew to appreciate their sort of update of the Sid Barrett era Pink Floyd sound and other psychedelic bands of that period. They either became more progressive or turned entirely prog. I would compare Shiva the Destructor, I'm not sure about that name, favorably to Airbag with a more playful sense of melody. Standout is the appropriately psychedelically named Summer of Love. So Shiva the Destructor, a band I say might have to watch out for them more in the future. Next, I was listening to Simon Collins' Becoming Human, released during the pandemic, I believe. So if anybody needs an introduction, Simon Collins is famously the son of Genesis and Brand X drummer and singer Phil Collins. His first album, all of whom you are aware of, was released in 1991, and then he was a member of Sound of Contact. It was a band that he was featured as a singer and songwriter, along with multi-instrumentalist Dave Kersner. Sound of Contact's One Alone album, Dimensionaut, was released in 2013. Wow, has it been that long, Dave? It was one of the highlights of the progressive rock revival, for sure. That continues to this day. Unfortunately, although more songs are recorded for a follow-up to Dimensionaut, it never came to be. I'm not quite sure what was going on. Nobody really says. But it's taken nearly 10 years for Simon Collins to do a follow-up. During that time, he's publicly come closer to and then apart again from his father, Phil Collins, Genesis singer. But anyway, Simon Collins got around to making this record. May not have been the best decision because even prog aficionados have greeted this with general apathy, it seems like. It's tuneful, for certain, and the melodies are there. But stylistically, personally, I think it's all over the place, and it reminds me of, again, you know, I mentioned this in other shows recently where Steven Wilson, formerly of the Porcupine Tree Band, and a solo artist for the past how many years, was a guy who wants to get out of the prog realm because he wants to be a pop artist. He said this in print. He wants to be a pop star. But the thing was, he created some amazing progressive music along with Porcupine Tree and his early solo albums, Hand Cannot Erase the Raven, etc. And again, this Simon Collins album reminds me, like other bands had hit that well of Steven Wilson sounds. Simon Collins reminded me of that Steven Wilson thing. You know, it's a pop star. It's a singer whose music idiom is the progressive rock realm, but wants to play very tuneful pop songs, and those are things that just they kind of clash sometimes. It made me listen to Dimensionaut, the Sound of Contact album, again. Reminded me it was a once and done and could have been more. I wasn't really overwhelmed with Becoming Human. There's a couple of really good killer songs on here. One is the title track, Becoming Human. But then there's a lot of stuff on here that's just filler. So it's a no. The Third Mind is next. It's a US band. 2020 release. This is an interesting one. You normally wouldn't think of this as progressive rock. This band has Dave Alvin of roots revivalist The Blasters, musicians from Cracker and Counting Crows. It's a trippy, proggy, bluesy, psychedelic trip to the Wonderland. This would certainly appeal to prog rock aficionados who like their psychedelia, their Canterbury sound, and those who like early blues rock material. It just seems to be a big crossover back in the day. I like Paul Butterfield Band and others. Actually, they cover East West, the Paul Butterfield Band Chestnut, really well. And they bring out Morning Dew, which has been covered by a lot of Celtic and prog Celtic revivalist bands in recent years. So the Third Mind, it's really worth a listen to. Back to Europe for Time Traveler. This is chapters 5 and 6. I kid you not, this is the name of the album, chapters 5 and 6. They're from Finland. This was released in 2021. Time Traveler is pretty much Giovane Nisula, a multi-instrumentalist who obviously studied a lot of Jeff Beck. This reminded me a lot of Blow by Blow and Wired. And as for the keyboards that are on this record, they're all over this thing, from a Hammond, a Moog, a Mellotron. It's pretty crazy. So why is this called chapters, what did I say, 5 and 6? This is the last part of a trilogy that began in 2008 with chapters 1 and 2. It's feeling a one-man band show with assistance on drums and keyboards from others. It's a nice vintage early 70s to mid 70s sound, mostly instrumental, close to fusion. I'd say if you're really looking for prog rock, keep moving on. And this is Time Traveler, and you know, with a name like that, it's so proggy. Next is TRK Project, the book that ends in tears. This band's from Poland, 2021 release. This is really the Ryszard Kromyski Project, a little mouthful, from Poland. Kromyski was also in the Polish band Fromaro, very Italian name, right? And apparently is still a member of Millennium, which came from the ashes of the band Fromaro. This is a solo album with long cuts based on depressing books. I kid you not. 1984, Lord of the Flies, etc. Animal Farm. It's all very much in a mid-tempo neo-prog style, like Revillion or Pendragon. Songs are very good. Song subject matter, I'm not sure of. The writing's very good. It incorporates the themes from these really depressing books. Books that ends in tears. So it's a concept album. So if you're big on concept albums, here's another one. Not my favorite, personally. Black Expression is next. Regresso a Casa. Argentinian band, 2021. Regresso a Casa also means coming home. 5 long tracks here. I like these guys. What a caveat. All instrumental band that updates the much loved Italian progressive rock sound that we like, but from the early 70s, which is interesting. But he added some nods to some today still working international bands. Like you could hear some Marillion influence in some of their harder, faster paced tracks on Dream Theater. And they are self-proclaimed Dream Theater fans, Black Expression. Comes out, there's a really cool prog rock, power rock collision number called Montes de Agosto, which is pretty good. I still think RPI fans will enjoy this if they gave it a shot for at least the first 3 tracks. And that was Black Expression, Regresso a Casa. Next we have is interesting, Vian Fernandes. The album's called Half-Life 2021 release. He's from India. Very interesting, I say, because Vian, V-I-A-N, was in the Indian death metal band Infernal Wrath, which Rolling Stone named Best Metal Band from India 2010 to 2011. He's also a rapper and bassist for a band called Taekwondo Bridge, which is based in Kerala, India. So I have to assume that somewhere along the way, Vian came across progressive rock, listened to a lot of Porcupine Tree, Steven Wilson solo, Marillion, Pendragon even, and Magic Pie, a band we'll be covering later on. He has a killer singing voice, this guy. Really, really, really amazing, and I am actually shocked. He's such a multifaceted performer and singer and talent. Not that he's from India, but he was in a death metal band. He's pretty much thrash, and then he's a rapper, and now he's playing progressive music. And I would definitely give Half-Life by Vian Fernandes, if you could find it, maybe Bandcamp or maybe on YouTube, if you can get a cut or two. Check it out. The guy's so good that he has a song called Fireflies that I was like, this sounds like Bryan Adams. Yes, that Bryan Adams. Quite good. I saved the best for last, and that's Zopp, Z-O-P-P. The album's called Zopp, Z-O-P-P, 2020 release from the UK. Pretty much, Zopp is the brainchild of multi-instrumentalist and film composer Ryan Stevenson. This is very much in the beloved Canterbury style and sound, especially if you like Camel's The Snow Goose album, which is pretty much all instrumental. You're going to love this. I mean, this is a surprise. Hopped up infusion of swinging 60s Burt Bacharach. You could hear that in the meat and potatoes of the sound that's going on here. It's just a collision of influences, but it works here. It's an enjoyable instrumental album. Actually, Ryan Stevenson, who is Zopp and the person behind Zopp, claims to be a big fan of Hot Rats era Frank Zappa. Although, can we say thankfully? No, I'm kidding. I really don't hear a Zappa influence in here, unless mixing down he decided to save those tracks for another recording. So the Zopp album is really good. You know, if you like Camel Caravan, Hatfield in the North, you might really like Zopp, Z-O-P-P. The album covers a little bit uninformative and just there. But so Zopp, that was the best album of this batch. So have a great weekend, stay well and stay safe, and we'll see you soon.